This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
The Indiana Pacers take a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Milwaukee Bucks with a 129-103 victory. And here to talk with me about it, he has brought the pasty white arms back. It is Michael J. Facci rocking the old school Danny Granger jersey. Facci, how's it going?
It is great. I mean, we're talking about that 3-1 go back to Indy, send the Bucks to Cancun type of pep. We ain't never had that type of pep in the step on this show before. What do I have to complain about? Talk about going into work on a Monday when you can tell everybody that you know exactly what happened last night, because right now we are the talk of the town. The Indiana Pacers looked fantastic tonight.
And you're going to need that extra pep in the step with it being such a late tip-off, 9:30 Eastern
Woo.
Standard Time. The Pacers give us something to look forward to by staying up late for this one. And there was a lot of things to talk about in this game, Facci, but I think first and foremost, the player we have to start out with is Myles freaking Turner. Myles Turner was absolutely unbelievable in this game. Completely set the tone from the beginning of the game. The Pacers obliterated every single Brook Lopez coverage, and they made them pay. That it was so bad for Milwaukee, they had to actually pull Brook Lopez from the starting five to start the second half. Really didn't get in there. Then when he comes back in the fourth quarter, gets like 3 fouls in like 2 minutes. Brook Lopez might not see another minute on the floor, and Myles Turner absolutely cooked him in this game, especially after having an awful performance, like we mentioned last episode, an awful performance against the Bucks in Game 3. So great bounce back from Myles, and what an awesome performance he had tonight.
I was in awe of Turner. Right from the start, he had it going. He had 9 of the Pacers' first 13 points in this game. It took him about 3 minutes to completely outperform all of Game 3 for him, where he went, it was like 1 of 6 or 1 of 9 from the field. Just 0 of 6 from three. Brutal game for Turner. We said, hey, look, he'll bounce back. He's played well against the Bucks, before, and he did. He just really, like you mentioned, set the tone. 23 points, 5 boards, 4 blocks. I mean, I know we're going to get into it later, but like the way he even set the tone in the second half, that tomahawk dunk on Giannis, when that happened, I felt like this is different than game three. Like, this is a different team. I saw what I needed to see right in that moment. But Turner from the get-go in this game looked like a man on a mission, and I feel like how he got Indiana going on early just kind of translated throughout this whole game, where Indiana never trailed.
Oh yeah, I mean it just basically changed the entire way that the Bucks were able to defend the Pacers, and you just have to give Miles a ton of credit. I mean that slam in the second in the first play of the second half was unbelievable because there's not a full arena at that point. Fans are still kind of filing in there after they've been out and getting food and getting refreshments and using the bathroom for there to be like no energy in the building yet because the Bucks are already pretty sad with everything that's gone in the wrong way for them. Just the way that Miles was able to do that was so good, and just the 3 point shots he was making, the little 18 footers he was hitting, they were not actually going all the way out to the 3 point line at times. Tyrese was driving left. I mean, let's talk about Tyrese for a second because one
Mm-hmm.
thing the Bucks did a very good job of is making sure Tyrese went left constantly instead of giving him that right drive. Well, the Pacers said, all right, you want to give it to him? So he just started taking it with his left hand and driving to the basket, had some early baskets in the paint, ended up finishing the game with 15 assists and 17 points. I mean, Tyrese Haliburton, people want to
Boards.
call him a front runner, but, like Derek Schultz talked with us about, it's kind of hard to be a behind the seat runner or whatever you want to call it. It's a back runner when you're always in the lead. You don't ever trail in this game. And so all Tyrese could do was front run.
It's true. I mean, Indiana's led at halftime in every single game in this series. So, and there hasn't been much time. And obviously, we know other than a bad second half by the Pacers in game three, it's been all Indiana. And Tyrese, I just feel like this is like, I'm not going to call it a master class. He did have 5 turnovers, which is unlike him. But if you're getting 17 points out of Tyrese, you usually feel pretty good. When you're getting 15 assists, that's getting everybody involved. And this was a type of game where the Pacers had 36 assists in this game. 15 assists. Man, this is the guy that leads the NBA in playoff assists right now. 6 of 11 from the field. Solid. Gets to the free throw line. We talked about it last game. Didn't have a free throw attempt. Settling for too many threes. How are you going to get to the line if you don't take twos? I felt like this was a very well balanced game. from Haliburton. Scored 7 points in the third quarter when Indiana needed to keep their foot on the gas. Just a really solid performance. Still don't think maybe he's had that explosion, but performances like this, you could always live with. He was a plus 25 tonight.
Yeah, plus 25. He generated 35 points off those assists, and he had, 17 of his own, right? So I thought he had some big buckets, shot a pretty good percentage for the first time, I think, this whole entire series.
That's very true. We
You know,
talked about it. He was at like 37% from the field in this series. Tonight, obviously, shooting above 50%. You got to love that.
Yeah, and 40% from three. So you like the splits there as well. So good stuff from Haliburton, good stuff from Turner. I think those two were the ones that really got the tone, set early on. And then of course the two A's. You can't say enough things about Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith and what they bring on both ends of the floor. Defensively, they were everywhere. Andrew Nembhard was hitting shots for the first time on the road in the playoffs. This series obviously did not have a good game in game 3 and felt like he needed to be better, but he hit some big time shots. We've already seen him do that in games 1 and games 2. So just great to see him continue to do that. But Aaron Nesmith has been one of the most consistent Pacers this entire series, and I think after tonight's performance, you can maybe say he's been the most consistent games 1 through 4. However, scoring wise, he's not been the top guy for most of the night, but just the way that he continues to add so much to this team, and then the chase down block that he had on Bobby Portis that led to a Tyrese Haliburton and one. Like, it's little plays like that that just continue to lead into great basketball. So you just have to absolutely love what you're seeing from Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard, and those two guys combined together for 34 points in this game.
For Andrew Nembhard, I mean, he has been that player that you could probably say has taken his game to the next level the most out of any Pacer. I mean, in this series, he has been, he had a down game in game 3, but so did everybody. But 17 points in game 1, 17 points in game 2. He has that 6-point game in game 3, and then 20 points. I think he only had maybe 2, at most 3 20-point games all season. And now he's dropping 20 points in the playoffs when you need it and you're on the road on 8 of 14 shooting. He's playing good defense. 4 of 8. 4 of 8. 50% from 3 for a guy that struggled from three-point land for a while. I mean, this is someone who has really rose to the occasion. Aaron Nesmith, I mean, I think just the second half of this year has just been awesome. He has been, like you said, very, very consistent. And you got to love it. I mean, you look at what the Bucks are getting on the other end outside of Giannis, you just don't even know what it's going to be like. Maybe Gary Trent Jr. has 37 points, maybe he has 6, or whatever it is. Aaron Nesmith has been locked and loaded, consistent. Andrew Nembhard. I mean, this starting 5 for Indiana, the consistency, the chemistry, it's evident.
It really is, Facci. I mean, you can't say enough great things about how that starting 5 has played all series long. It's really been the bench that you've needed more from, and they definitely brought it tonight. I think we should bring this up just to kind of remind people what happened here. So first and foremost, Benedict Mathurin did not play in this game because of the injury that he suffered when Giannis's, I believe, knee got him in the abdomen area, so he was out for this game, and we'll see if he's able to play on Tuesday. Not sure exactly how severe that injury is. And then early on in the game, Foch, Damian Lillard, about 2 minutes into the game, goes down with a gruesome injury. Chris Haynes is reporting that they fear it could be a torn Achilles. Looks like he will be out for the rest of the season. And, I just want to apologize first and foremost because I did share a tweet tonight with Tyrese Haliburton doing the Dame time sign after I saw some fans from the Bucks that were talking about Tyrese. And when I posted that, I really didn't think about Dame's injury, making fun of it, and I know that it came across that way. So for any Bucks fans that were pretty upset about that, I understand. I just want to own that one here on the podcast, Facci, because that was a mistake by me to post that and not really think about what I was doing. But it was more so because the guy was calling Tyrese a front runner, basically, and saying that he only talks when guys get hurt and so forth. And so I was basically just saying it's Ty's time, just being silly. But, obviously you hate to see Dame go down. Wish him nothing but the best. And I love the competitiveness of Damian Lillard to come back after being off for that long.
Gotta respect that.
And to play. But I was really concerned after the first game he played 37 minutes, and you have to wonder, did they put too much on him too soon? And I asked Brian Sampson yesterday, is there any possibility that with Dame only having 1 day of rest, is that going to play a factor in this game tonight? And unfortunately, he goes down super early. We do not know if that injury was sustained because of previous wear and tear he had done to it. But at the same time, it's just when you haven't played that long and then you go and start playing a heavy amount of minutes, especially in the playoffs, it's a totally different level of play. And so I feel really, really bad for Dame, and I feel bad for Bucks fans that really didn't ever get a chance to see Dame and Giannis together throughout their first 2 years in the playoffs.
Terrible. Injuries are the worst, but like Achilles injuries, I mean, for so long it used to be a death sentence. I know sometimes, medical technology is better now, but like when you're an older player like Dame at this point, it's sad. You feel for him. He's a gamer. You got to give him a lot of credit, a lot of respect for coming back. Even last year, I mean, he was injured against the Pacers, still trying to give it everything he had. I actually saw it was really unfortunate. It was a year ago today that he had that Achilles strain, and they thought that could have been a potential Achilles tear. And I just feel like he's had a rough run with injuries. I do think that he got rushed back, but I also would imagine that he was probably pushing to come back. The 37 minutes was a lot early on, and I'm sure it's probably, hey, if you're going to be back, you're going to be back full go, or we sit you out, or whatever it may be. And it's tough. He didn't have the type of series that he wanted. I think for Bucks fans, now it opens up a lot of questions as to does he miss all of next year if it's an Achilles tear?
Yeah,
What
that's a good point.
I know. I mean, there are a lot of questions. We're not here to answer those. Um, I feared that it could have been an Achilles tear because those non-contact injuries, like there was no dirty play going on. It's a
No.
freak type of accident that could have happened to anybody. I feel for Bucks fans, and I just think that it had to have deflated the Bucks locker room after that when you know that like you're trailing. Dame's not going to be back out there. You're climbing an uphill battle, and I think for the Pacers, I think they probably smelt blood in the water, and I think that it was something that's going to be a little bit tough for the Bucks to overcome in this series because even I last episode was saying the Dame breakout's coming. He's
Yeah.
too good of a player to just be struggling like this. I felt that he had the possibility to go off for 20, 25 points tonight, and obviously it only lasted a few minutes. So prayers out to Dame. Hope it's not as serious as they think it is, especially at this point in the year where we're almost entering May. It's the worst time to possibly sustain an injury.
Yeah, and I mean, he was getting older too in his career, and so
Yeah.
it's harder to recover from these injuries. We saw two of them happen to James Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson, two very young bigs early on for the Pacers this season. So I think a lot of Pacer fans were well aware of what that injury looked like as soon as it happened. So hopefully he's able to recover from that quickly, like you said. But yeah, I mean, just to go back now to the Pacers bench because we did not have Ben Mathurin, and so I was kind of curious how they would, play this lineup. And tonight, the guy that was first off the bench for the Pacers was Jarris Walker for
Yep.
Pascal Siakam. And look, we talked about the starting five. We didn't even bring up Pascal Siakam because he had such a quiet game. Just 12 points tonight on 5 of 10 shooting. I mean, this guy's been carrying the Pacers, and the fact that the Pacers were able to kind of carry him in this one was nice to kind of see that turned around because I feel like Pascal's been doing so much on offense and defense, having to guard Giannis, and I just think that Pascal, while he still had to do a lot defensively to keep Giannis from getting going, what he did offensively in this game was not really something you noticed, but it was good to see other guys pick up where he had kind of left off in game three.
Feel like the Pacers have had Siakam's back this year. Like he's been so consistent that I feel like on the games where he struggled, Indiana's still been able to pick up the slack and be able to win some of those games, which has been great. Like there was a shooting slump that he went through earlier this year where Indiana was still winning games, and it was like,
Hmm.
hey, you know what? It's not that big of a storyline because we're winning. Tonight, Siakam had his first quiet type of game, but I want to give him a lot of credit because
Yeah.
defensively, that man was battling in the first half on Giannis. Battling. Giannis has destroyed the Pacers. Let me read off Giannis's first half stats. 8 points on 3 of 10 shooting, and his only free throw attempts came with 3.3 seconds left in the first half. In game one, Giannis had 15 free throws by halftime. He had 8 free throws in the first quarter of game one. He had 10 free throws in every single game, at least minimum. I felt like Siakam battled as much as he could one on one, and there was great help defense, whether it was Turner or anyone else just being able to, meet Giannis at the rim and just disrupt shots. So on a night where Siakam didn't have it offensively, he did everything he could defensively, probably took a lot of energy out of him, and everybody else. 8 Pacers scored in double figures to help pick up that slack. But going back to your point on Jarris Walker, Jarris first off the bench, didn't kind of fell out of the rotation last game for the most part. We saw Ben Shepard kind of take his minutes, and Jarris played only in garbage time. Jarris played a good game. He
Yeah.
played a good game. 12 points, 5 boards. He was actually leading the Pacers in rebounding at one point. He had four rebounds, but 4 or 5 from 3. That's the Jarris with the sweet stroke that we saw a couple months ago when he was in that rhythm shooting like 60% from 3 at one point. This was just a good, solid, obviously the best playoff performance yet we've seen out of Jarris in his young career. Very encouraging. He was a plus 12 in this game.
I mean, he continues to shoot the ball well, Facci. I don't know how you can take him out of the rotation with how much he's shooting.
Can't.
And when you're playing against the Milwaukee team that's going to probably play zone, specifically now with Dame out, they're not going to be able to switch as much, and they're limited with what they have guard wise. Like they could go a little bit smaller, maybe play some more Ryan Rollins instead of Dame's instead of Dame, I guess you could say. I'm fumbling over my words here at 12:30 at night. I feel like I can't form sentences for whatever reason tonight, but. I think that there's going to be an opportunity here for Jarris to continue to get looks defensively on Giannis because they need to make sure that they put some more size on Giannis. I know that Giannis is going to be ready to play the best game of his life in Game 5, and I'm going to talk about what all that could look like moving forward. But I know that in Game 5 it's going to be loud in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Fans are going to be excited, and you cannot put Aaron Nesmith on Giannis by himself for as much as they've been doing it throughout the first 3 games of the series. And I think adjusting and putting Jarris on him is a very smart decision because Jarris can go out there and just give you a little bit of length, right? He's got a 7'2" wingspan, 6'8" body. You probably wish that he could, put a little bit more muscle on him. But, with Turner protecting the paint like he was tonight, it was really helpful to be able to kind of have that initial contact with somebody that's got some more size and then that. But offensively, just the 3-point shooting, Facci. I mean, he's probably got the wettest 3-point shot on the team right now. I mean, I feel like every time he shoots the ball, it's going in the basket. And I don't just say that lightly. I mean, I thought it might dip off in the playoffs, but no. Like, he was hitting big shots in this game. Bucks go on a run, cut it to 7. Boom, Jarris Walker, 3-pointer. It's just like, okay, Jarris, like, whatever you need to do to keep yourself confident, keep doing whatever you're doing.
There was one thing like as great as a game as he played, there's one play I got to bring up. Giannis just bulldozed his way and sent Jarris flying at the basket. I don't know if you guys are listening to this, like I don't know if you remember that clip, but I just remember being like, oh my God, no one's gonna stop Giannis one-on-one. So it's like I give Jarris a lot of credit on that. Hey, he's young and Giannis is like a absolute bulldozer in there. So it just shows it's gonna take more than one guy. You need that Turner at the rim contesting. And that's what a lot of it was, is Giannis is just going to go down there, barrel his way as close to the rim as he possibly can, and you got to either build a wall or you got to have extra bodies there. And tonight, Indiana did a great job. I know Giannis ends up with the big stats once again, but like I said last episode, one man can't beat us. He had 20 points in the second half. A lot of that damage came in the third quarter. I think he had like 18 in the third. The fourth quarter was just kind of, a blowout. But for Indiana, they did a great job with the help defense. Shout out to Jarris Walker, who just gave us some good minutes. And we got the Obi Toppin game that we've been waiting for. I said last episode, come on, Obi's due for one of those games where he splashes like 3 threes or something like that. And he did it tonight. He went 3 of 4 from 3, 5 of 7 from the field. In 14 minutes, just gave the Pacers, good quality minutes. Tyrese, I think it was before halftime. Yeah. Such a dime. Was it before halftime? Maybe before the third quarter ended. I don't know. Such a dime pass, like to get he threaded the needle to Obi, who laid it in at the buzzer. I think it was before the third quarter ended. And it was just, that play right there is exactly why Indiana wanted to go out and get Obi Toppin, because he runs in transition. And when you have as gifted of a passer as Tyrese Haliburton, he's going to find a running Obi Toppin at the rim. And I felt like Obi was just, he gave you what you needed tonight and what you've been waiting for, because he had kind of been struggling.
Yeah, I mean, he really had been. And I feel like a lot of guys have been missing open shots. And I brought that up on the last episode just because I wanted to highlight, like, the Pacers were getting and generating really good looks. It just didn't hit them. And Obi Toppin was, what'd you say?
The Pacers shot 60% tonight from the field, 46% from three, and the 129 points, I felt like it was a lot. I had to look it up. 1 point shy of a Pacer franchise playoff record. They did it against the Knicks last year in Game 7. There
Yeah.
was also one other time that they did it in 1991 against the Boston Celtics, but it's like 129 points on the road. Think about that. I mean, just
Yeah.
very, very impressive.
Yeah, it just showed the Pacers' resiliency to just make sure that they got this one back to Indiana up 3-1. And I'll just maybe be a little bit bold here and say this. I feel like Indiana probably still wins this game, even if Dame does stay throughout the
I
entirety
think
of the
so.
game. They were just laser focused. It looked like a totally different team to start this game than what we saw in game three. Game three, I think they came in a little bit loose, a little bit too comfortable, right? Just kind of felt like, yeah, we kind of got
A little
ourselves.
lead. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
They were a little full of themselves a little bit.
and
Need
that
to
kind of
go.
happens sometimes. But I just love the way that after they played that game, they came back so laser focused for Game 4 to make sure they gave the Bucks their best effort because they knew Milwaukee was going to be ready for them, and they knew Milwaukee was going to have a similar game plan. And I just think the way they were able to kind of anticipate some of the adjustments Milwaukee was going to make, or the adjustments Milwaukee did make. Now they were able to counter those adjustments that Milwaukee made in Game 3, and the Bucks really had no answer. So I don't really know what the Bucks are going to do now without Dame out there because you could just tell, like, without him out there, they have looked like a much, much, much worse team, even though Dame was not 100%. Just the threat of Dame is so big.
Yep.
And I think part of it too, like, I want to get to the bench here a little bit more, and obviously you touched on Obi Toppin, but like it allows more guys on the Pacers to play, and you don't feel like you're as nervous about them on the floor. Number one, and number two, you can utilize Andrew Nembhard in a different role
Which
than
is
just being
huge.
the Dame stopper. He can kind of
Changes a
float
lot.
around and do different things, and Kevin Porter Jr. had his best game of the series so
Definitely.
far. Be interested to see if he can carry that over on the road. I would be kind of surprised if he does, just because he's Kevin Porter Jr. and he's very streaky. So
Exactly.
I think obviously if they want to start Kevin Porter Jr. or do something different like that, you put Nembhard on him. But I just feel like Nembhard was so good, so disruptive defensively, and kind of I like that he's able to not have to worry about being kind of like the guy that has to stop Dame. I like that they had other guys able to step up and kind of wall off Giannis. And just real quick, I know I'm talking a lot here, but I want to just bring this up too. We saw the Bucks get a lot of good looks from three because of the Pacers double teaming, stepping off their 3-point shooters. And there were some times where the Bucks shooters got loose in this game and they had decent percentages, but nothing to the extreme of what we saw from Gary Trent Jr. So I just want to say the Pacers did a terrific job compared to game three and rotating and scram switching out to those guys that were wide open for three to make sure those looks were not clean.
Yeah, I think like we saw that the Bucks struggled. They were like 4 of 23 in the first half from three last game. And then they just went bananas. 11 of 18 from three in the second half of game 3. Tonight it just wasn't the case. And look, I'm not trying to like discredit the man, but like we all knew Gary Trent Jr. going off for 37 points and 9 threes was not going to happen again. That was a truly once in a lifetime historic performance that he will always look back on and say, "Hey, I remember when I dropped 37 points in the playoffs, tied a Bucks franchise record from threes." Like it was a special game. The Bucks don't have someone like that. Like AJ Green, when you talk about, he had a little bit of a run where he hit a couple threes. I remember Indiana, like to end, I mean Milwaukee to end the first quarter hit like 3 threes basically in a row, and it was like, okay, all right, we got to keep an eye on this. But guys like Kuzma are just like you can't trust him. Brook Lopez kind of can't see the floor right now. Gary Trent Jr. had his game.
Kinda. He cannot.
He
He
can't.
should
I mean,
not.
he should not. I agree. He didn't play in the third quarter. And you mentioned it when he came back in the fourth. It was like, might have made a mistake bringing him back in. So I think it's been a little bit tough. But for Bucks role players, I mean, it's ugly right now. So Bucks starters not named Giannis combined for 15
I
points on
saw that.
5 of 18 shooting. Like, oof, that is really really rough. Kevin Porter Jr., like you mentioned before, like I think this was the Kevin Porter Jr. game. Good player, but is he going to score 20 plus points again? I don't know. And even if he does, like if he's the number two, I still feel very confident in the Pacers because they had 8 guys tonight that could give you double figures. And the one guy we didn't touch on yet, we got the TJ McConnell game. We got the McConnell game that we have been waiting for. 15 points, 6 assists, 7 of 10 shooting. He had one time where he forces an 8-second violation in the backcourt. Like that's vintage McConnell right there. I just felt like it was an awesome performance by, from top to bottom from the bench. And that's what we were wondering coming into this game without Mathurin, who would step up. Just about everybody did. And look, Ben Shepard's not going to have a stat line that blows you away. Shep played pretty well tonight. I felt like he was battling. He had an offensive rebound here or there that I saw, and he was just contesting. And I just felt like overall, still, struggling from three, 1 of 4. Everybody gave you something tonight.
TJ McConnell had a great game, and there was some really rough moments there in the first half where he looked unplayable. And I was like, are they going to keep going with this? Because the Bucks were right around 7 points at this time, and Dame was already out, and McConnell was the person the Bucks were hunting in all those AJ Green threes there at the end of the first quarter. So the Bucks closed out the first on a 9-3 run. Obi did splash a 3 in the middle of that run there from the Bucks, but TJ was just really struggling and getting hung up on those screens, and then by the time he would recover, he's so small they would shoot right over him. But like when TJ McConnell is out there and he's hitting a 3 at the top of the key, he forces an 8-second violation. He still gets 6 assists. He had a phenomenal game for TJ McConnell standards, and I think sometimes when it's the playoffs, you can over criticize what someone's doing in a game, or everything just seems like, oh man, this is the worst thing ever. Like they point out your flaws like immediately, and we know what McConnell's flaws are. Like there's no surprise there with that. So I think that while he didn't have great moments in this game, easily to me his best game of the series
100%.
so far. So
100%.
good to see that from him, and I'm glad you brought up Ben Shepard because I put it out on Twitter, and I wanted to make sure that I emphasize this. Like, yeah, I think Jers should be playing over Ben Shepard. But at the same time, I don't think Ben Shepard's a bad player. And I feel like the way that fans were souring on him, like, look, this guy can't throw the ball into the ocean at some time. That's just where he's been at shooting wise. But other than that, defensively, he's been really pretty solid. And you gotta trust that he'll find a shot eventually. Look, 25%, in the last 2 games, 2 of 8 shooting from 3. It's nothing to write home about, right? It's a very mediocre, underwhelming stat line in terms of what you're doing scoring wise. But I will say in game 4, that 3 that he did hit was a big 3-point shot. The Bucks had just came down and hit a 3. He matched it with a 3 in the corner right in front of the Pacers bench. So, I understand the frustrations with him. Don't get me wrong, but I think tonight he proved why he is worthy of getting the rotation, and makes you understand why Rick respects what he does.
I got something for you. Ben Shepard had 2 offensive rebounds. That led the Pacers. One of those offensive rebounds that I very, very clearly remember, he kicked it out to Jarris, who splashed a 3, and I just felt like it was like, wow, there we go. That's the hustle right there, leading to second chance points, but also the fact that it was Shepard to Jarris Walker, 2 guys that have found themselves at times out of the rotation, battling to get back in. It was great to see them have that type of connection on that play. So overall, I just feel like from top to bottom, great Pacers effort in this game. A blistering 60% from the field. Like, you can't lose when you shoot lights out like that. But also, like I said, they're not going to let one man beat them. I felt like, I know though it was 2 guys, I guess, that beat them in game 3. Man, we're talking about going up 3-1. We're going 3-1 back home. Where right now, other than OKC, I guess, and whatever it is, I'd say other than OKC, Indiana to me looks like the best team at home. They really do. They look dominant at home, and I guess you could say, hey, look, Cleveland looks really good as well. But man, like this Pacers team to go back home on game 5 to close it out, I feel good about it. And you know what? Here's a couple other stats that let's go out. So you talked about it. 7-0, I believe, for the Pacers when they're up 2-0 in a series.
You're underselling it, Facci. 11-0.
It's 11-0. Way better. 11-0. A larger sample size. I also saw you tweet it out. I think you said that teams, when they go up 3-1, 96% of the time, they win that series.
I don't think I tweeted that, but I'll take credit.
Someone tweeted it
Probably
out.
Pat Boylan.
Maybe it was. I saw the tweet. All right, 96%, 11-0 for the Pacers when they're up 2-0. That means I got a better chance of getting struck by lightning than we have to lose this series. I'm going to knock on wood because I want to see the end of this series. I don't want to get struck by lightning. But what I'm telling you is the odds are in our favor right now, that even if the Bucks can climb the mountain and do something that's been tough. That's beat Indiana at home. I still feel good that Indiana still has two more chances after that, with one of those being at home to be able to get the job done. So, man, I don't want to look too far ahead. This team can't have this go to their head, but we are in a great spot right now. And this game shouldn't be on NBA TV for game 5. Like you got to start putting some respect on the Indiana Pacers name.
Well, if this is the last game they play in this series, it'll be the last game you won't be able to see on national television. It
Yes.
is, however, the last playoff game you will ever see on FanDuel Sports Network, as they will not be carrying the playoff games moving forward with the new TV rights deals with NBC and Amazon. So you'll probably need to have Peacock and Amazon, and you're going to have to continue to find ways to buy all of this stuff. It's never just going to be on CBS, ABC, WTHR for all you local people here. It's never going to be on those channels unless it's randomly on ABC for the finals. So, I'm just saying, if you're a Pacer fan, you can still watch FanDuel throughout the 82 game regular season. I think it's worth, the price that you pay for it, whether, if you're a diehard Pacer fan, then that's the way to go. But Facci, we're talking about stats. I mean, just look at the landscape of the league today. Every single team that led 2-1 in today's games all won game 4. Pacers go up 3-1. Knicks go up 3-1 on a controversial no call. Timberwolves go up 3-1 on the Lakers, and the Celtics go up 3-1 on the Magic. So, to me, it's just maybe we're seeing the top of the team, the top of the league, kind of separate themselves. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that the Lakers didn't pull that one out there against Minnesota, just because of how close that game was. But I just got to give the Pacers a lot of credit here for not allowing the Bucks. We talked about this last episode. We were together on, like, you just cannot allow Milwaukee to get a little bit more breath and feel like they're in this series. And so you do exactly what you need to do. And you mentioned Gary Trent Jr., 37 points last game, 6 points in today's game.
It's just like it's coming back to reality. Look, he's a better player than 6 points, but the 37 points was just so out of this world that it just didn't make sense. That's why I didn't think that it would happen again. But yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of close games. There's a scenario where the Pistons should have won. There's a scenario where if you guys watched Lakers Timberwolves, it came down to, it looked like the ball was off Anthony Edwards' leg, out of bounds. They challenge it. It's actually ruled LeBron foul. Edwards goes to the free throw line, hits 2 free throws. Like, that game could have been done differently. So now we're seeing it's just like, hey, the Pacers were not in a nail biter scenario for the majority of this series. And when I say majority, I mean the clear majority of this series. It has been all Indiana. And at this point, the way that we're playing, I don't fear anybody. Now, this isn't like in college football where they say, we want Bama or one of those. Like, I'm not saying, give us Boston. I'm just like, hey, one game at a time. Let's just keep it going. Let's play our style of basketball. And it's hard for other teams to keep up with the Pacers. I said it last game when Indiana, it looked like it was gross. Like, 101 points. I'm like, that's not Pacer basketball. We got to be around that 120 or so. To have 129 points on the road, like I mentioned before, it's incredibly impressive. It's something I'm not taking lightly. And man, I know it's late, but I love this team. I love what I am seeing right now. And this is what it's all about. When we were 10 and 15, and it was like pulling teeth to have to, hop on this podcast and be like, all right, this is gross. What are we doing over here? Hey, we got Moses Brown, or, we're going through.
Come on, this is the playoffs. I want to keep talking about this.
I'm
get
just
to your
saying,
point.
it's like, and now here we are as we are basically heading into May, and we are up 3-1 on the Bucks, looking great. It's hard to have predicted back then, but I'm just so happy that people didn't hop off the train. They kept going, and this team did not let us down.
I will say this: if the Pacers keep winning, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get your sunglasses if you're watching this on YouTube, because Facci's going to be glowing a lot more with his sleeveless jerseys on. So
I got the old school Danny Granger for anyone who's watching on YouTube. This bad boy is baggy. I mean,
it's looking baggy, bro.
This is like 2007-ish or so. This jersey's probably from. It's the style was a little bit different back then. Let's just say I don't think this one ever fit. All right, put it that
I was about to ask, did it ever fit?
And I used to wear some baggy jerseys back then. It was the style. I'm an old man now. I prefer my clothes to fit a little bit better, but I love them. Danny Grant, that was my guy. And what I realized, we talked about it offline, I wore a jersey for game 1. I wore Benedict Mathurin. For game 2, I wore Lance Stevenson. He was in the house. Game 3, I did not wear a jersey. We lost.
Facci.
I got to do my part. I went back, Danny Granger jersey. Hey, 3-0 when I'm wearing the jerseys. I'm going to keep it going.
All right, well, we got one Facci curse working in the positive for us, so maybe
Hey.
this is the new thing, the Facci jerseys. I like it. And I posted on our chat BCC group chat, Facci. I had my Pacers lucky socks on today.
Gotta. You
I
got it.
did.
Even if
And
they
I
stink, keep them going. Keep them on. All right.
the thing is, I've decided that I'm never gonna just be one of those guys that just like, oh, I'm wearing them every game, because that's just kind of silly. That's unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I wear them, I wash them, I dry them, I put them in my drawer, and then I put them on for game day when it's time. So today it made sense. I was going to church. I had on a navy suit. I said I could put on navy dress socks, or I could throw on my navy, white socks, I guess you could say, but like, athletic socks that are the Pacer ones. And so I throw those on. I'm throwing on my lucky Pacer socks today. They're blue and yellow and gray. They kind of match my navy suit. I'll rock them. And I was like, I'm not taking them off all day either. I'm still wearing them right now. And look what happened. The Pacers won the game. So, I don't think I've lost a game with these socks on. I will say I did kind of chicken out in the Celtics series. I did not wear them for the Eastern Conference Finals. So maybe it's my fault we didn't win one of those 2 games, but
Put it
I'll
on.
make sure that I wear them moving forward when it's appropriate for me to wear them. So, I appreciate your efforts on the jerseys, Facci, even though my eyes over here are kind of hurting a little bit as it's getting late at night and I'm trying to keep awake. You're blinding me over here with all that white skin. But ever heard of some sun, brother?
Hey, I get a little bit. I tend to get some color too. Go out there. That
Get a little
sun,
red
that
on
sun
you, buddy.
slaps. Yeah. So, hey, I'll do mine. I'll get some color at some point. But for right now, man, I'm just trying to get these W's. All right, this team is rolling. It feels good, and I just want to soak it in a little bit longer. Tuesday, it's not like what they did earlier in this series where the Pacers have 3 days off or anything. Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We don't have to wait all day. I was kind of pacing around, watching other games, waiting, trying to kill some time. We don't have to wait too long. And for that, I feel really good. It's under 48 hours.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say this too, like, the Pacers better not take their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Thinking they've got this series in the bag because Dame went down with an injury. And if they do that, they can make this interesting because they still have the Bucks have to beat them 3 games in a row to win this series.
Really
so you feel pretty confident that they're not going to do that to Indiana, especially without Damian Lillard. But I'm just going to put it out there, like the way Giannis came out in that second half, like you don't want him doing that for the entirety of a game. We know Giannis is capable of dropping a 50 bomb anytime that he wants, and you're going to get Giannis's best punch in Game 5. And I think that when you're at home, you're expecting role players to step up a little bit more. They did to a certain degree, but he just wasn't able to get going early in that first half. So I'm just saying, don't take your foot off the gas, Foch, because if you do, you might be in trouble.
Hey, I'm keeping that foot on the gas, all gas, no brakes. Let's just keep it going. And look, we've all been around, watched enough basketball that we remember teams coming back from 3-1. I mean, it happened with the Nuggets. They've done it before. It's happened with LeBron against the Warriors. Like there's numerous times where that's happened, so it's not impossible. But take it one game at a time. Indiana going back home at the right time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it last episode. You said that you don't think this team is mature enough to get a sweep, but
No.
I think they're mature enough to win it in 5. And
that would be a big step forward.
They just seem to me like they've turned the corner, Foch. I don't know if I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I do appreciate TJ and Pascal kind of trying to rein Tyrese in a little bit there when he wanted to go talk to Bobby Portis even some more after some of the stuff.
The amount of technicals that happened today.
We'll close out with that really quick and the player awards, but I just want to say, like, there was a point when the Pacers were up like 20 and Tyrese made the shot over Portis and he started to walk up to him. I think he got fouled or whatever, and like TJ and Pascal are just like, dude, just let it go. And I thought Myles was just really, really strong and poised with not getting involved in the antics. Like there was even that one where Portis was like putting his head in Myles' face, and Myles just kind of like looking at Tony Brothers like, what do you want me to do? And then Tony Brothers has to like go in there and tell Bobby to stop. So, I know a lot of people were like worried about Tony Brothers being an official for this game, but I don't know what the Pacers' record is when Tony Brothers officiates, but I always feel good when he's out there. I feel like the Pacers always get the benefit of his whistle when he's out there on the court. So it's much better than Tyler Ford and Zach Zarba. I'll just put it that way.
Definitely. And honestly, there was times where I just feel like everything was going our way, where it felt like we were the home team tonight. I didn't feel that there was any bias or anything.
It's pretty quiet in there.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, I saw a lot of Bucks fans beating the traffic. That was that type of whooping where with about 5 minutes left, people were like, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm just gonna head home." And it's like, hey, you guys might want to get a closer look because this Bucks team, you don't know if you're seeing Giannis back out there on the court next year. I mean, you probably will. I imagine so. But a lot of questions to be answered. But as we kind of transition over, you mentioned that the technicals. There was a lot. I mean, double technicals on what was it? It was Nesmith and Bobby Portis.
No, Kevin Porter Jr.
Nesmith and Kevin Porter Jr. Bobby Portis got a taunting call, then it led to a technical. Ryan Rollins and Jarris Walker got
Well,
technicals.
that was so
That,
soft.
that was ridiculous. I mean,
Ryan Rollins maybe should have got one there, but Jarris didn't even do anything.
I
Jarris
know.
just standing there. What are
The
they
refs
doing?
kept separating them like these were just like some schoolboys like like recess or something. All right, everybody go back to your sidelines. It's like
The
come on.
fact that Jarris got a tech and
Yeah,
Tyrese didn't in this game is
I
laughable.
I know
Tyrese should have got a tech. I mean, Tyrese was taunting Bobby Portis,
he
and
was
it looked like Bobby was almost kind of enjoying it at one point. They were kind of laughing at each other's
yeah.
face, and then like after a play, Bobby went up and did it again and got up in Tyrese's face. I went and reviewed it. It was before Giannis had those free throws with 3 seconds left in the second or the first half, second quarter. And when they went and reviewed it, they were like, yeah, nothing, just play on. And then they show the replay. I'm like, Bobby went up to like Tyrese's face and like
Hard
put
to
his whole
tell.
entire head up against his face almost. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I like Bobby Portis out there, for the antics. It's whatever. It makes it good television. Feels like I'm watching some WWE stuff, right? But
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't feel like anything got too out of hand. But I think that if Kevin Porter Jr. would have been able to go at Aaron Nesmith a little bit more, we probably would have saw KPJ get a second tech. All right, we had a little bit of a Zoom glitch there, so I do apologize if there's any awkward transition here, but we're wrapping things up. We're going to do our player awards and get out of here. So, Facci, MVP of the game. I didn't put any polls out on our chat BCC, but who would you give the MVP to?
I think I want to give it to Miles. Honestly, I feel like
100%.
the way Turner started this game, I feel like Indiana just like fed off of the way that he set the table tonight. I would say, and his help defense was fantastic. Miles was a major part of why Indiana won this game.
All right, I would agree. Myles Turner is the MVP of Game 4. Now, for looking at our Feisty Foster player of the game, who are you going with here?
I mean, this whole team I felt like was pretty feisty in this game. Like I feel like obviously McConnell had some feisty moments. Nembhard's always feisty. There's feisty with the technicals. Like I feel like there was a lot of feistiness in this game. Who are you going with?
Who am I going with? Oh man, I was waiting for you to bail me out on this one. I mean, honestly, like this might sound stupid, but I think we could literally have a clean sweep here of Myles Turner.
I mean, you could. I mean, feisty. I mean, like the way that he was, cleaning up at the rim, I felt like
He
was just awesome.
might be more defensive player of the game.
Yeah.
It would be between him and Nembhard, in my opinion. Maybe we can give it to Nesmith just for that chase down block that he had and the way that he was out there just crashing. So we'll give Nesmith the feisty Foster player of the award, but
He
I
was
think
feisty with having to also be held back.
yeah, with Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah. So that was definitely some feistiness.
Yeah, and I mean he's not afraid for a hard foul either every once in a while, like Jeff Foster used to give. You remember when he gave that bad one to Derrick Rose and the crowd was going nuts? Yeah. So anyway, I'll just say that. And then defensive player of the game, I think it's got to go to Myles Turner as well. Like the amount of blocks that he had on Giannis, playing some help side defense. I mean, Miles was everywhere tonight, so I just think he deserves a ton of praise for that.
I just feel like in the past, Giannis had absolutely owned the Pacers, and it's not like they owned Miles, but like I feel like it was like okay, Miles has nothing he could do with Giannis, but like between the blocks that we saw tonight and the slam that he had on Giannis, this was like truly a Miles statement of like
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of you. Hey, like we are going to send you packing when you come to Indiana, and I felt like this is just a great performance by him. So I want to tip the cap there.
All right, this one will probably a little bit tougher, but our Reggie Miller clutch player of the game. Do we want to just change that to our sixth man of the game?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think for the sixth man, do you want to give it to Jarris? I mean,
I I, I think it's got to be Jarris or TJ.
I definitely, it's definitely between those. I kind of want to give it to Jarris just because I felt like you didn't really know what you were going to get at all. Like McConnell was due. I feel like this was like Jarris, like getting in. Okay, hey, like we mentioned, first guy off the bench. All right, hey, let's see what he does with it. And I felt like he had a really solid game. So sure, McConnell, you can make the same type of argument for him, but I feel like Jarris did, I don't want to say more unexpectedly, but like rose above what anyone could have expected, I'll say.
I mean, I think it's unexpected. I wouldn't expect that
Yeah.
from Jarris, the way that he
Yeah,
played
no,
in the
I
paint.
mean, yeah, no, I definitely think like McConnell, we were waiting on this, waiting. Jarris rose to a new level, had the biggest on the biggest game, the biggest stage of his career, I would say, had his best playoff game by far. And there were only a few playoff games, but by far.
Yeah, I'm totally fine giving it to Jarris, and he also had a much better plus minus. He was a plus 12 when on the floor, where TJ was just a plus 5.
Yep.
And there was some rough TJ moments out there. Like I said, he made up for it at different times throughout the game, and I like that they're playing TJ a little bit more with Tyrese, just to have two ball handlers out there. But there's times where I really do hate that second unit where it's McConnell, Shepard, Walker, Bryant, and Siakam. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, this is not going to work in round 2. Like, this might work for round 1 of the playoffs, but you're going to have to shrink that rotation quite a bit because there wasn't enough offensive creation at some points there. TJ started getting it going on, but at one point it was just Pascal trying to create stuff. And it's just like, and like your floor spacing with Thomas Bryant, Ben Shepard, and TJ, who haven't really been shooting well, you really were just relying on Jarris to hit threes, and he did. So kudos to him. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of flaws with some of the players right now in terms of like what they're shooting wise and how they're contributing. But I mean, I'll give TJ his flowers, but I would still want to give the nod to Jarris Walker here for our sixth man of the game.
I think everybody can live with that. Hey, look, I know we might nitpick a couple things here and there, but what a performance by the boys. Great bounce back response. That's maturity right there. This team has not dwelled for a couple months now. I feel like they have not let a loss bring them down and go down any sort of slump. We've seen a really consistent Pacers team, and this just feels different than like last year where you didn't know how they were going to respond or not. They might drop every single game one or they fell down 2-0 against the Knicks. Like, this is a team that the Pacers, I felt like they have an opportunity to have their foot on the throats of the Bucks. They don't fear the deer, they want to smear the deer. All right, now I want to see if they can get it done in Indiana. Everybody, if you can, do your part, show up, be loud, make that like a really tough environment for the Bucks, and I feel like we have an opportunity to do something, pretty awesome. I mean, to be able to, close out at home is just, it's fantastic stuff, and this is a privilege to be in this spot.
I mean, absolutely, and the pep in the step, Facci, on a Monday morning,
That
hits even better. But you know when it even hits better, Facci?
What do you got?
When you get on the scale and you see that you're 8 pounds down after your first week of playoffs weight off. So just wanted to give everybody an update there. I am officially 8 pounds down this week.
Amazing.
And a lot of it has come with, I do walk quite a bit in my job, but I will say just cutting back on the amount of crap I was putting in my body has definitely paid off for me this week. So I'm feeling encouraged, Fudge, to keep going and keep pushing forward. And, don't love where I'm at, obviously, but I like the direction I'm heading.
Right, we're rooting for you. Pacer Nation is behind you. Keep us updated. We want to hold you accountable, but we want to root you on. That's what it's all about. So, hey, while you're racking up W's, we're racking up W's here on the court. So, awesome stuff. I'm pumped. And, hey, I think it's late enough, about 1 a.m. as we're wrapping up right now. Send us on out of here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back tomorrow for a little bit of a Game 4 recap, but kind of a Game 5 preview with the guys from the group chat. I'm sure you guys enjoyed that one last week. Lincoln, Carson, and David joined me last week on a Sunday night for a Monday morning episode, so that'll be just one day different from last week, and you guys really enjoyed that, so they're going to be back to kind of discuss what the Pacers can do in Game 5 to make sure that they do not extend this series to a Game 6. And then, of course, Facci and I will be back after Game 5 to recap that. Do not forget, Facci mentioned it earlier, 6 o'clock tip-off. It will only be on NBA TV. So if you are locally here, you will be blacked out. This is your opportunity to make sure if you want to watch them clinch, potentially, this series in 5 games, you're going to have to get FanDuel Sports Network. And you can do it per game or you can do it for the month. I would just encourage you to do it for the game if you're only expecting to watch one game here on FanDuel Sports Network. It's $6.99 for one game if you haven't bought it all year long. And might be one of the last games, if not the last game, we ever hear Chris and Quinn call in the playoffs. So you're witnessing history here if the Pacers win this one. So make sure you guys do that. Do not miss out on this game because you are blacked out. Make sure you do your due diligence. Tell your friends to do that. And, of course, Join the Chat BCC group chat if you haven't already, Facci, because that is where all the fun times are happening. And you never know what AI-generated image I'm going to put up there of Facci. Had some Facci Muppets tonight. Facci said he had some, blood dripping from his nose because he could smell blood in the water, and I got Facci doing that as well. So, we're just having fun over there, Facci. I'm waiting for the punch back. I haven't got it yet, but you are a little preoccupied with a little.
I have never created an AI image in my life.
It's not hard. You just tell it what to make.
Don't expect anything creative out of me. So that probably won't be happening, but it was very creative by you. It's a lot of fun in there.
You didn't laugh at it. You didn't respond to it.
I got my hands full.
Cameron Jimmy keeping you up.
I got 2 kids. I'm watching the game, and I can't answer every message, but I'm in there. I respond back when I can. I'm also trying to tweet on the side. I'm trying to spread the wealth, so trying to make it all happen. So everybody, bear with me.
All right, everybody, there you go. Bear with Facci. He is doing his best, and we appreciate him sacrificing once again, coming on the podcast late at night so we can recap this game. But with that being said, Pacer Nation, if you're open, the Pacers can end this series in 5 games on Tuesday night. Facci, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.